get into it. Okay, let's just jump right into it. First, I want to say that I'm not a stranger to these award shows. As a professional musician myself, I've played on a record that was nominated for a Grammy back in the mid '80s, a Christian rock record, and it was nominated. It didn't win, but I did play on it. So I'm not a stranger to these award shows and kind of how they work and everything. Uh, my own record, Thrush Hour, that I did for the Sparrow EMICMG Christian Music Group label, was nominated for a Dove Award back in '95. Excuse me. And so that's sort of like the Christian version or the gospel version of the Grammys. And I didn't win that either, but that's okay. I'm actually glad I didn't win because it stopped me from getting too into that sort of self-adulation and winning little gold statues for my music. So I'm actually glad I didn't win. But I want to dive into this, the Grammy Awards and Sam Smith's performance here. I'll just show it to you. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this, but let's take a look at this. Okay, so did you catch that? The Grammy Awards sponsored by Pfizer, which I think is really interesting. I don't know. If you can't see some of these connections by now, then I don't know, maybe you better wake up and smell the coffee. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that, you know, like I said, I'm not a stranger to these award shows. A band I was in, a Christian rock band, we played on the Dove Awards back in the '80s. And then my own record was nominated for a Dove Award, which is just, like I said, it's sort of a gospel music's Grammy. And another record I played on back around '85, '86 was nominated for a Grammy Award, and it didn't win. But so I'm not a stranger to these award shows. What I want to say though is that you know, I mean, anybody can take a look at this. I mean, just look at this, you know, stuff. You know, if you can see it. You know, Sam Smith is surrounded by a bunch of demon women, female like demon type characters, and the one gal, the other singer, is in a cage, and Sam Smith has got horns. He's got horns on. You know, I mean, it's almost kind of corny. You know, I mean, it's corny, kind of what he did is, but it's very obvious that either he's a worshiper of Satan himself, Sam Smith and his people. Either they're into that, or my other theory is that, you know, these people don't actually even believe. They don't believe in God, and they don't believe in the devil either. And they're just doing these kind of things to shock people. It's a shock value thing. You know, this has been going on since the 1980s. You know, music videos, and they would just shock people. Madonna's stuff, you know, way back in the day, Judas Priest, Ozzy Osbourne, you know, all kinds of stuff. Marilyn Manson, And they did these things for shock value. I mean, they knew they were going to get a response from, the religious right, conservative Christians, who I happen to be, by the way, and I'm also in the music business, one of the few. But these people have done these types of things for shock value for decades. That's how they got rich. And my theory is that some of these people don't even believe. They don't believe in God, and they don't believe in a real devil. Well, that's unfortunate for them if that's the case, because there is a real God and there is a real devil. The Bible makes that very clear. Jesus addressed Satan, when he was tested in the desert. Jesus encountered the devil himself being tested in the desert for 40 days. And Satan tested him there numerous times. And finally, at one point, Jesus Christ just said, "Get away from me, Satan," because he was tired of it. So from the scriptures, we definitely know that Satan is real. And we also know that Satan is strictly about destroying, killing, and killing life. We know that Satan has come to kill and destroy, steal and destroy, kill, steal, and destroy. That's his entire purpose. He wants to destroy the human race. That was his whole intent. Satan was jealous. He became jealous at one point as one of the greatest angels, maybe the greatest angel of God. He became jealous and then wanted to become God. There's lots of scriptures that back this stuff up. So Satan fell. God basically condemned him, and at that point then Satan was out to kill and destroy the human race, and he's been in that business forever. So those who in the music business who worship Satan, or they do it, or they just put out these shock videos that like Sam Smith, just wanting to shock people. They want to shock the religious right. They want to shock people like me. It doesn't shock me. I'm in the music business and I know what you're doing. I know what people in the music business do. You're not fooling me. You might fool a lot of other people, but I know what you're doing, the shock value. And it's going to make you filthy rich. That's true. I'm sure Sam Smith is worth millions, and he'll probably be worth millions more because he's gotten what he wanted. They have gotten the shock value that they were looking for, and it's all over Twitter and the internet and Facebook, and everybody is posting on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram about the satanic performance. I don't know if Sam Smith believes in a real devil or not, but whether he does or whether he doesn't makes no matter. People like him and others are in a very dangerous place because the devil is real. Whether he believes in Satan or not, a guy like Sam Smith is in very serious danger, and he's dragging a whole lot of young people with him. That's a whole other issue about trying to deceive young people, and Jesus was unequivocal about that those who deceive little children, it would be better if you tied a huge rock around your neck and be thrown into the sea than deceive these little children or new believers in Christ or little children. That's a serious thing. If you're trying to deceive little children or new Christians, if that's your intent, then you have a horrific and awful future coming for you. Jesus was very, very clear about this, that those who deceive children, those who deceive what we would call baby Christians, Christians that haven't been Christians, and you're trying to trick and deceive and confuse them, you have an awful, horrific future in store for you. for eternity. It's nothing to mess around with. That's a warning to people like Sam Smith or anybody else that's trying to deceive, whether intentionally or non-intentionally, trying to deceive little children or baby Christians. And there are some believers that are doing this too, or call themselves believers. I don't think they really are. There are some Christians who are promoting and propagating the things of the devil, the satanic perversions of Satan. Did you know that Satan basically copies? He has no original thoughts in his mind. Satan basically just copies everything that God does. He's a copier. He just copies everything that God does. But what he does, he copies it, then he twists and he perverts it. He twists and perverts it. And that's what we see with things like homosexual marriage. Homosexual marriage is a twisted, satanic, perverted copy of what God ordained as the method for human beings, the holy method for human beings to join together and to have children. It's a God-ordained thing. Now, Satan has taken that and twisted it and perverted that. He's twisted it. Can gays have children? Oh, sure, they can adopt children. Gays can adopt children, but can they naturally have children? Can homosexuals naturally procreate? No, they can't. You see, it's a perverted, satanic copy of what God ordained. Marriage is a holy thing. It's God ordained. And those who push and propagate homosexual marriage are propagating and pushing the perverted satanic copy of what God ordained holy matrimony is. It's holy. It's a holy sacrament in certain churches, marriages. Homosexual marriage is a perverted, demonic copy of that. So if you're pushing that, you might want to think about that real hard and check where your heart is. Anyway, let's go on. I've gotten off track here, but the Grammys and what happened there. You know, this stuff has been happening forever. We've been seeing references to satanic stuff in rock and roll and music and stuff for a long time. And I'm not one of those Bible bashing, right-wingers who say all rock and roll and all music and all pop music. I'm not one of those because I'm in the music business myself. I'm a Christian, conservative Christian who happens to be a professional musician. So I'm not a Bible bashing right-winger who's saying all rock and roll is of the devil. No, that's not me. I've been playing gigs for 45, almost 50 years. I'm in the music business. So that's, if you're saying that those crazy, insane right-winger, Bible-thumping right-wing Christians are backwards and they're a bunch of troglodytes who can't see the progressive future, well, guess what? You're not talking about me. Because I know the music business. I've played on a Grammy-nominated record, and I know the music business, and I know how it works. So you're not talking about me. But what I wanted to do is, I had scriptures in mind, and I'll try and pull them up here quickly if I can. But what we're basically seeing is more and more over the last few years, basically since the late 1980s, that Satan is basically just revealing himself more and more. He's just coming out and revealing himself. Whereas once he was hidden and in rock and roll music and in funk and R&B or whatever, pop, the demonic references were always kind of, subliminal, sort of hidden, and the shows were just sort of, They might have shown some demonic reference, guys biting the heads off of bats or chickens or whatever, and we don't even know if that's true. Of course, those people were on drugs at the time, so it's no surprise they would do crazy stuff like that. But this has been happening for a long time in the music industry. These satanic, demonic references. And again, I'm not no right-wing, Bible bashing, Bible thumper. Yes, I know the Bible, and I'm going to quote it right here in a minute. But I know the music business, and, this stuff is all just for money. It's all for money. Whether they mean it, whether Sam Smith and the people like him are actual worshipers of Satan, or whether they think they're playing a gigantic game, and, it's just all in fun, or they think it's all, just for shock value. Oh, I'm going to shock the Christian right in America, And I know a lot of rock and roll and pop stars think that way. Their entire existence is about getting a wild, crazy reaction out of Christians, especially real Christians, which they call, the fascist religious right or whatever, which is a lie. But these people don't really fool me. They don't fool me, and they don't fool a lot of people, especially educated pastors, people. We know that they do this stuff for shock value. They may or may not believe in a real devil. I'm not really sure. Some of them probably do. But I think their intent is just to shock the religious right and get us to make these knee-jerk reactions, which many on the right are very good at, and then they just point back and say, see, they're a bunch of bigots, they're a bunch of homophobic, Bible thumping, Bible bashing religious bigots, and that's the accuser. Satan not only comes to steal, kill, and destroy, he comes to accuse. He accuses us believers. And so when we on the conservative right and we start pointing fingers, that's exactly what they want, is a knee-jerk, reaction that may not be, in the smartest way. However, these people that do that are correct. There is a devil and there is a God, and there is a warfare. Let me pull up this scripture here, if I can, real quick. And so I'm speaking as somebody, who understands what people like Sam Smith are doing. I'm totally aware of what they're trying to pull off. And whether they're real Satan worshipers or not, it doesn't really matter. Those people are putting themselves in great danger, and the people that follow them are being put in great danger. And a guy like Sam Smith, or the people on the Grammys, these satanic worshipers, or whether they worship Satan or not, or whether they just dabble in it, or whether they really mean it, whether they're real worshipers of the Prince of Darkness, or they're just doing this stuff for shock value, they're putting themselves in great danger, and their millions of followers. Did you see the reaction of the crowd on the Grammys, a couple nights ago after the performance? It was like, oh man, the crowd went wild. They loved it because those people are unregenerated. They're not saved. They're not believers in Jesus Christ. And so God has given them over to a reprobate mind. God has given them over to their delusions. If they want to worship Satan, he's going to let them do that. If they want to bow at the altar of Molech, which was the ancient god, or little god, little g, that even the Israelites were sacrificing their own children to. If modern day people, and I'm talking about people on the left mostly, maybe a few on the conservative side, but very few. Mostly I'm talking about people on the left that if you want to worship Molech and you want abortion to go through our society with no problem, well, guess what? It's happening. But did you know you're actually worshiping an ancient god, little g, called Molech? You're sacrificing lives on an altar called choice. That's what you're doing. It's the same as back about 4,000 years ago, and the Israelites began to do it too. The people of God started worshiping Molech and burning their own babies alive, their little infants and babies. That's kind of what abortion is. You're murdering a baby, chopping it up, you know. That's what it is. I'm sorry, but